Hey y'all, today we are going to be talking about the art elements. So I wish I had my microphone so it echoed, but I don't, so I just tried to do a sound effect to myself. So here's what we're going to be talking about. Art elements. There are 7. Line is one. What is a line? A line is where one point meets another point, and how do you get to it, right? So if I do a point here and a point here, how I get to it would be a line. It's kind of like a walk, right? Another one is shape. We use all kinds of shapes. There are 2 types of shapes in art. One is organic, one is geometric, right? So geometrics are things like your squares, your pentagons, your stars. Organic is more like the bubbly looking ones, right? Like a cloud. Color is another art element. We talk about the different types of colors, whether it's primary or secondary. Sometimes we talk about tertiary colors. The other one is space. Space is an art element. That's anywhere from filling up your space of your paper or making things look like they have depth in an artwork. Things that are near or far, foregrounds, middle grounds. Those are things that we talk about with space. We also talk about value. Value is the lightness and the darkness of a color. You can create a value scale by shading really dark with a pencil and then lightening up. So dark to light. If we talk about tints and shades, we're talking also about value. Texture is also another one. Texture is the way something would feel if you actually touched it. So my hair feels soft. But there's also something called visual texture. Visual texture is drawing the way something would feel by using patterns and shapes. So you can see bumpy, you can see soft. Those are all kinds of art elements. The last one is form. Form is 3-dimensional, right? So form would be like a cube or making a building actually look 3D, and that's form. So there's 7: line, shape, space, color, texture, form, and value. Today we're going to be using these art elements in our sketchbook for practice, all about review these first couple weeks, and then we're going to dive in deep and use the knowledge that we know to create some really cool art. All right, let's get started. You're going to need your sketchbook, something to write with, a marker, a pencil, anything of your choice, and you're going to need some heart to put into your art. I do want to remind you, pause the button if you need to go gather those materials, but the first thing I want you to do is finish your sketchbook cover. That's really important that you get that done. So if you need to take some time to finish that, please pause and do that first. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is open up our sketchbook to the first page. That's going to be however you want to hold it. If you want to hold it horizontal, you can. I'm choosing to hold mine vertical because we have a lot to write. The first thing you're going to do on that page is write the art elements. The reason we're writing this is because this is going to kind of serve as a table of contents for us to go back if we get stuck on an art project and remember these elements and how we create art. The first art element we are going to be looking at is line. You guys know line. Lines are all different kinds. I'm going to write the word line kind of big so I can do some lines around it. When you write lines next to it, I would like for you to draw several different types of lines that you might see in an artwork. One could be straight. Try to find at least 6 different lines. I'm doing straight lines, bumpy lines, zigzag lines, loop-de-loop lines, swirls. You might even do something called thick lines or a thin line. Try to do at least 6 lines next to the word line. Next art element we are going to be doing in our sketchbook is shape. So if you will take a marker or a crayon or a pencil and write shape in your sketchbook, S-H-A-P-E, and then we're going to be doing 2 different types of shapes next to that word. The first is going to be geometric, and the second is organic. Organic shapes are more like a cloud, or maybe the shape that you would see when you're drawing a leaf. It doesn't really have a name, it's more like a blob. So those are important too, so I would like for you to include organic or natural shapes under the word shape too. The next art element is going to be color, and this is one that everybody loves. We're going to start with our 3 famous colors. Those are the primary colors. Primary colors are red, yellow, and blue, and we can use these 3 colors to make any color besides black and white. But these 3 colors are kind of like superheroes. So I'm going to show you how you can take the primary colors and turn them into secondary colors. We see that red and yellow make orange, blue and red make purple, and we see that blue and yellow will make green. And that's how we use a color wheel to help us with color theory. Now there's more colors that we're going to learn about this year and how to create those, but those are the basic ones that you'll need to know. So I would love for you to put these combinations into your sketchbook too. Some people also remember Roy G. Biv as a way to remember the color order. So I'm going to draw a little rainbow in my sketchbook to remind me of Roy G. Biv. Next art element is going to be space, and this can be any way that you're creating space in your artwork. How shapes are arranged in an artwork creates a sense of space, and you can consider it by maybe doing a foreground, a middle ground, and a background into your artwork. So I'm going to write those 3 words and I'm going to show you what I mean. The foreground is anything that's in the front of your image. The middle ground is what's in the middle, and then you have the background. You can see in my foreground, I'm doing some rolling hills. In my middle ground, I'm going to be doing some mountains, and in my background, I'm going to do a sunset. This creates space in my artwork. It makes things feel closer and farther away. The next art element is texture, and texture is the way something feels. It can be the way something actually feels if you were to touch it, but most of the time when we're drawing, we're using something called implied texture or visual texture. And that's anything that you would draw using patterns to make it look the way that it would actually feel. So a fish would be scaly, bricks would be rough, teeth would be sharp. So you're just using lines and patterns to create something called texture or visual texture. The next one is value. Value is the lightness and the darkness of a color. And so you can create a value scale. I'm actually going to write lightness and darkness so I can remember. You can create a value scale by using crayons or your pencil. You're going to push really hard on one side and then release pressure and get really light on the other side. And so that is going to create what we call a value scale. Lightness and darkness of a color. You can see what I'm doing here. How the color indigo gets a little bit lighter and darker as I shade. last but not least, we have form. Form is three-dimensional, and so 3D is a short term for that. So anything that you're drawing to make it look 3D is going to be form. We also use form when we're creating clay or sculpture. But for drawing, we would see form in three-dimensional shapes, the ones that you kind of learn in math. So triangular prism, a tent, which would be what? A pyramid kind of thing. You would have a rectangular prism or a cube, a sphere, a cylinder. Those are all different types of forms that we can draw. You'll also see form in sculpture. So your goal this week is to practice your 7 art elements as kind of like a toolbox for us to use in our sketchbook as we create this year. You can turn these into however you want. You do not have to do it the way I did, but I would love for you to practice your 7 art elements and snap a photo of it and upload it in Canvas so I can see what you created. Have fun!